Hi everyone, my name's Kathryn Martens. My guest today is Richard Campbell from CMH. Thanks very much, Richard, for joining us today.
No worries at all, Kathryn. Great to be here.
Yeah, well, I'm excited that you are here. Tell us a little bit about your current leadership role.
So I am currently the programming director of CMH, and CMH helps support 6 regional radio stations around mostly New South Wales, but there is one in Victoria.
Fantastic. Have you been doing that long?
That particular role I've been doing for about a year and a bit, 18 months.
Okay, and my guess is you wouldn't have come to a role like that without having done quite a few things prior to that. Give us just a little bit of your story.
So that particular stream of my story started when I was about 16 in church. A guy got up the front and said, if anybody's interested in becoming an announcer on community radio, come and see me after church. So I did, and that started what I would call one of my career paths. So it started as a volunteer for many years. The past 11 years, I've been in a part-time, and in the past 18 months in a full-time role. But before that, I was learning the trade on air, doing a show on the local community station where I live in Albury-Wodonga, 2REM. In fact, 2REM was one of the first FM radio stations in Australia. So I think it started back in 1972 at the same time as me, way back in the day. So enjoyed it, love everything about, I suppose I love radio because especially, or any radio, but I love music, and I love being able to educate the public on the different genres. There is quite literally a genre for every single musical taste out there at the present moment.
Yes, yes. Now, hearing a little bit about your journey into all things radio, there'd be some people listening thinking that just in itself would be brave. Their idea of just being heard, by so many people simultaneously on radio would be a scary thing for them. So can you tell us maybe a story of when you remember that feeling and how you overcame it?
Yeah, I suppose I've always loved performance. So when I was 17, I wanted to be a singer-songwriter. That's what I was going to do with my life, except that I didn't know how to write. And although I could sing, I didn't really. So I never became a singer-songwriter. So I've always been a singer, but never a songwriter. But I love performance. And if I could find a big stage with the biggest spotlight, I would like to stand underneath it and just speak to the masses or sing to the masses. Now, the scariest part was probably got nothing to do with that. It was actually when I started in my role as station manager of the local station here in a part-time capacity. And it was more the administration part of it, where I had very good understanding of what needed to happen, but I had little or no experience. And so I had to rely on some natural abilities that I didn't realize were there until this stress came along. And there were quite a few problems, not problems, but issues that I had to personally overcome that actually made the role very stressful because I took the responsibility very heavily.
Yes, anytime when we feel that stress and that responsibility heavily on us, to even step forward in any fashion can feel quite brave. Can you tell us what was it that in the end helped you to do that when you dug deep and you were talking about natural abilities? What else helped you then?
Well, I suppose this was, I've got all of these programs. I know they need to go to air, but I don't know where they are, how to download them, and where to put them in the system. And so I was stressed. I was really anxious about being able to fill the role. And I thought that I'd stepped out onto water, and the water was now up to my eyelids. So I could, and that's where I started to pray. And I suppose prayer brought some clarity. And and in that moment, I sort of sat there and thought, well, what do I need? Let's make a list. And list was it was a great clarification of the everything. So the first list was very messy, but I had probably 10 iterations of the list, and it was basically what do we need, when does it come, when is it available, and when does it go to air? And I was able to break it down into those very simple, but it's like eating an elephant. How do you eat an elephant? Well, you do it one bite at a time. It's a massive thing, but you do it slowly and methodically, and choose one thing that you can do, one small thing that you can do.
Yeah, I'm really hearing a bunch of strategies all in there that just came naturally to you by the sounds of it. You knew how to break something down, but you also knew that you couldn't just rely on your own strength, that there was a higher power that was helping you and underpinning your ability to move forward. That's great. Thanks so much for sharing that part of your story. I think there'd be a lot of people, but certainly leaders out there who could sympathise with that it can really feel like a brave choice to be a leader sometimes. We were having a conversation earlier, and I'm wondering if you might like to loop back to that, just that whole sense of being a leader and what that means to you.
Leadership is, so for me personally, I would love to be, one of my issues in the role that I have is being able to build a team. The current team that I work with at CMH have all got some wonderful talents, and I love being part of, I don't know, I've got a mechanical mind, so I always think about machines and how they all work together. And if one cog isn't turning and it can be the smallest thing, if one cotter pin isn't holding a cog onto a wheel properly, then the whole machine can come to a stop. And so I've always been about the detail, and I didn't realize this until you're constantly hitting walls, and then you're analyzing what I can bring to the issue that is at hand. And I suppose I look at the team, and it's a matter of being able to work with the person that is in front of you rather than the ideal that you would hope for. Not that any of our team can't meet their role. It's just there's always more work to do than team members in a particular role, no matter what it is. And it's a matter of being able to work with the people that you have to be able to get the best from them and from yourself to be able to achieve the goals that you're collectively trying to achieve.
Absolutely. And haven't you just described leadership so perfectly there? And I want to ask you, Richard, who in your life has been an influence for you as you've taken that brave step of leadership?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I've never really had someone that's a mentor that's speaking into my life, but what I do is I look for things that I'm hoping to achieve. I always want to improve. I'm trying to make the internal Richard Campbell and the external Richard Campbell the same person, so that there's no duplicity in that. There's no surprises, I suppose. And I've got an undiagnosed problem with being able to read. So dyslexia is one of the things that I think I may have.
Yeah.
And that coupled with, again, undiagnosed, but ADD or ADHD, not ADHD because that's hyperactivity, but ADD. And having I suppose I've always, and I've recently sort of coined the phrase that my memory is like a bowl of soup. All the memories are in there, but I do not know what order they happened in. And so I'll know that something has happened, but I don't know how to order it all. And so I'm living inside this brain trying to make order of chaos. My problem there was being able to cognitively understand, like I can read, but then taking the time to cognitively understand what it is I've just read.
There would be quite a large number of listeners here who also have that similar challenge. And I guess what we really want out of this program is to encourage anyone with whatever their challenge is, whether it be neurodiversity or any sort of disability or fear, that they can step forward anyway. That's the whole point of being brave, isn't it? That you feel it, you know the fear, you have the insecurities or even the genuine struggles, but you do it anyway. You lead anyway.
Yeah.
And you find the people to walk alongside you to help you get there. So, you know, thanks for being an example of that.
I chose well when I chose my wife.
Yeah.
We work really well together, and I suppose there have been key people that have come along for a season. It's interesting. You have people that come into your life that you hope will be long-lasting, long-time friends. But in my life, I've found that there've been some really deep relationships come for a season and then they're gone. But the one constant has been my wife, and we've traveled through life. It's now just over 30 years we've been traveling along together.
Congratulations.
I mean, we knew each other from high school, and so she has probably been the greatest influence in my life in being a sounding board. When I can't read a situation, I'll go to her straight away and say, did I see it this way? Is that correct?
Yeah.
With that neurodiversity that you speak about, I just don't see it. Or I'll say something in the moment, and because of my memory, I've forgotten what I've said, and somebody gets upset because of the way I've said it, but not really understanding the meaning behind what I'm trying to say. So I want to leave people better than when, after experiencing Richard Campbell in their life, I would hope that people leave feeling neutral or better, not worse. And so
well, let's pick up on that, Richard, because the flip side of the who has influenced you is, are you being a mentor for anyone at the moment, or is there someone who you're influencing? Because that is effectively what all leaders are doing. Who are you influencing at the moment?
I mean, in my role as radio is this really weird medium where you're constantly speaking, but you not always got the opportunity to hear back from. So we'll be speaking a message and hoping that it's encouraging, hoping that it's building into someone's life, being positive. That's what each of the stations that I work with, that's what we want to do. Again, the way I live my life is the way I hope the radio stations are, that you stop listening to the station, but you leave better than what you started, or more encouraged. But the opportunities that we do get to hear back from people out in radio land, each of them are, even when they're complaining that they can't hear. So that's encouraging to me, that they want to hear, and that they're letting us know that there's a problem, so they want to hear. But there are people out there that genuinely are listening, and they find a benefit from the radio station. So that's why I love it. What I love about it, that people are getting their own needs met through this wonderful, very personal medium.
Yes, and that's certainly the intent of this program in particular. We want to uplift and encourage people to take brave steps, particularly those in leadership. We've heard so much negative press over the last few years of leaders that have fallen or made some bad choices. So, you know, it's my heart as we continue forward that we might just highlight that for every one or two of those, there's also hundreds and thousands of faithful leaders that we can champion, and we can hear their story. So I'm looking forward to introducing our listeners to them over time, and encouraging them, and encouraging our listeners that they too can be brave. I actually want to just let Richard talk now about some of the tips he might have for you guys as listeners, who are also thinking maybe leadership's for me, maybe it's not, or maybe you've been in leadership a long time, but you're starting to waver in terms of, have you got what it takes? We all have those moments. Richard, what would you have to say to anyone in leadership today as a fellow leader?
I think it's important to have a good sounding board. So if you, like, I've been speaking about some of my struggles with being able to read, or even so the two biggest things that I struggle with is being able to remember exactly what I've just said, but also remembering things in a proper order, but then also making sure that what's coming out of my mouth is actually what I mean. And so having people that will honestly be able to speak into your life, which I spoke about before, my wife is a good sounding board. If she's within cooey of a conversation that I'm having, and it goes pear-shaped, I'll just sort of say, well, what was because I can't control the other person. And that's the thing, as leaders, I've seen some leaders, they want to control every part of the situation, which is their makeup. That's
very
their
common.
makeup. But I've learned over time that what that does, whenever I've tried that, and I've very rarely done it, but whenever I've tried that, I've thought, I can't control the other person. The only person I have control over is me. And if I'm trying to control someone else, then I'm actually doing them and myself a disservice and creating stress. If I give somebody an
I just think you've really hit on a spot there, that whenever we're feeling a little bit uncertain about ourselves as leaders, we will default often to wanting to control because it's a stress response, and we think that that's going to solve a lot of the issues. Well, if we just take back control. So I couldn't help but interrupt, sorry, because you just hit a nerve there. And I think if the ideal is influence rather than control, isn't it?
Well, that's it.
With what you're getting at,
yeah. And I suppose that's just what I'm trying to do whenever I'm approaching someone as a leader, because I don't hold on to titles easily. I don't see myself as a leader. I see myself as a guy that wants to help another person. So whether I've been the majority of my life, as far as career is concerned, has actually been in retail or manufacturing, as an electrician or as a salesperson. There's probably 1/3 of my life where it's been in radio, and wherever I go, I suppose when we're talking specifically about leadership, when I've been in retail, there's been so many more opportunities to be a leader in those circumstances, because as a Christian, I just see a better way of being able to look at life. And everybody wants to fight each other. But I look at it and I go, well, what if you took the approach that you didn't want your own way? You wanted their best. And so if you're trying to get their best, the other person, whether they're yelling at you or not, what is it in the moment that you can say to the person that will, even being apologetic when you may not be in the wrong, so that you can diffuse the situation if it's become heightened?
That's an example of leadership in practice. That's what I'm hearing. And it is applicable. It is able to be applied in these sorts of ways, where we let go of our need to control, we let go of our need for power, and we lift others up. And that's actually more effective leadership. I'm sure that am I right? Is that what you're getting at?
I find that and this is probably my greatest strength, but also my greatest weakness, because they normally go hand in hand, they're the two sides of one coin, is that I'm a people pleaser. So because I want to please people, I suppose I've spun that a little bit in the evolution of my 50 years on the planet. And I use that term very literally. Like if you're not evolving, you're staying the same. And I don't know too many people on the planet that are, I want to use the word perfect, but happy with who they are. And so there needs to be an evolution. There needs to be a change, which is what the word actually means. And so I use my talents of wanting to be a people pleaser to go, well, that person there, why are they upset with me? Or why are they happy with me? I've done something right or I've done something wrong. I can't change them. I can only change me. So what do I need to do to make this situation better? And that's where the people pleaser steps in. He goes, I just want them to like me. Whereas part of what I'm doing there is trying to get the best for them as well, so that it's not so selfish.
Wow. I mean, if we could all conquer that, I think we'd all be great leaders. I think what you've put your finger on there is a challenge that absolutely everybody, probably in whether they're leaders or not, probably just in life, have that ability to take ego out of it, take that need for people to like us, and that whole, like, what are they thinking about me now, out of the question, and truly consider somebody else's best interest. It's a tough journey, but it's also a brave choice to do that. Thank you for being an example today, and for telling us your story of some times when, you know, you've chosen to be a brave leader. We have run out of time, so I'm having to finish today. I always feel like we never have enough time. So I thank you very much for the time you have given us, and don't be surprised if I hit you up again down the track for another interview. On that,
it's been my pleasure, Kathryn. Thank you for the opportunity. It's great.
Yeah,
thank you.
My pleasure. And if you've been listening and you've thought, oh, hey, I wouldn't mind being interviewed too, we are looking for more interviewees. So please do get in touch and get on the list of being an interviewee. We'd love to hear from you.